Lily Carter stepped carefully over the uneven ground, her boots crunching softly against the rocky surface. The air was thin and cold, carrying with it a faint metallic taste that clung to the back of her throat. She adjusted the straps of her equipment pack, feeling the weight of the sample collector bump gently against her hip as she moved. Around her stretched an endless expanse of desolation, gray cliffs jutting into the pale orange sky, their jagged edges casting long shadows across the barren landscape. This planet wasn't what anyone would call welcoming. It was harsh, unforgiving, and eerily silent except for the occasional gusts of wind that swept through the valley like whispers from another world. But Lily didn't mind. In fact, she found comfort in the solitude. Back at the outpost, there were always voices, always questions about why she had chosen this mission, or whether she was truly cut out for it. Out here alone, she could focus on her work without distractions. Her task today was simple: collect atmospheric samples near the edge of a deep ravine, where readings suggested unusual chemical compositions. Nothing groundbreaking, just routine science. Still, Lily approached every assignment with care, knowing how even the smallest detail could make a difference. As she reached the designated spot, she knelt down and began setting up her tools. Her gloved hands worked methodically, attaching tubes to the sampler and calibrating its sensors. The silence around her felt heavier than usual, though she couldn't quite put her finger on why. Maybe it was the way the light seemed dimmer now, almost as if the sun itself had grown tired of shining on such a lifeless place. Or maybe it was the strange sensation crawling along her skin, a prickling awareness that she wasn't alone anymore. At first, she thought it was just nerves. Being so far from the outpost often made her feel exposed, vulnerable. But then she heard it, or rather, felt it. A low vibration in the ground beneath her feet, too subtle to notice at first, but growing stronger with each passing second. She froze, her fingers hovering over the sampler's controls. Slowly, she turned her head, scanning the horizon. That's when she saw it. Standing at the edge of the ravine was a creature unlike anything she'd ever imagined. Its body was tall and sleek, covered in shimmering plates that reflected the muted sunlight in bursts of color. Long, spindly limbs ended in sharp claws, and its face, or what passed for one, was dominated by two large, glowing eyes that pulsed faintly with an otherworldly light. It didn't move, not at first. Instead, it simply stared at her, its presence both mesmerizing and terrifying. And then it spoke. Not with words exactly, but with thoughts that pressed into her mind like icy fingers. "You are so breakable," it said, its voice smooth and mocking. "What could you possibly achieve in this vast universe?" Lily's breath caught in her chest. She wanted to run, to scream, to do anything but stand there frozen under its gaze. Yet something kept her rooted to the spot. Maybe it was shock, or maybe it was the part of her that refused to let fear take control. Whatever it was, she managed to force herself to speak, her voice trembling but audible. "I'm not as weak as I look," she replied, surprising even herself with the strength in her tone. The alien tilted its head slightly, as if considering her response. Then, without warning, it vanished, leaving behind only the faint hum of displaced air. Lily stood there for a moment longer, her heart pounding in her ears. She didn't know what had just happened or what the creature's intentions were. All she knew was that those words, those cruel, dismissive words, had ignited something inside her. Something fierce. As she packed up her equipment and began the trek back to the outpost, she couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was far from over. When Lily returned to the outpost, her mind was still racing with thoughts of the alien. She tried to shake off the lingering unease as she stepped through the airlock and removed her helmet, but the image of its glowing eyes stayed with her. The others noticed immediately that something was different about her. Ryan Hicks, the mission leader, raised an eyebrow as he looked up from his tablet. "You okay?" he asked, his tone casual but probing. Lily hesitated before answering. She wasn't sure how much to say or whether anyone would believe her. But Maria Lopez, The biologist who had been analyzing soil samples nearby caught the hesitation in her expression. "What happened out there?" Maria asked, setting down her tools and giving Lily her full attention. Taking a deep breath, Lily recounted the encounter, the strange vibrations, the towering creature, and its mocking words. As she spoke, Ryan's face shifted from curiosity to skepticism. "Are you sure you weren't just imagining things?" he said when she finished. "This place can mess with your head." But Maria didn't dismiss it so quickly. Her dark eyes narrowed thoughtfully as she leaned forward. "Wait," she said. "Did you notice anything unusual in the environment? Any energy readings or disturbances?" Lily nodded. "Actually, yes. There was this weird hum in the ground, like, I don't know, vibrations, and the air felt heavier, almost electric." Maria exchanged a glance with Jake Miller, the engineer who had been tinkering with a broken generator in the corner. He shrugged. "Could be worth checking out," he muttered. "If there's some kind of tech involved. Advanced tech, we should at least rule it out." Ryan frowned, clearly reluctant to entertain the idea. "We're here for resource extraction, not chasing ghosts or aliens," he said firmly. "Stick to the mission." But Maria wasn't ready to let it go. "Ryan, think about it," she pressed. "If there's intelligent life on this planet, and evidence suggests there might be, then understanding it could be more valuable than whatever minerals we're digging up." The room fell silent for a moment as everyone considered her words. Finally, Ryan sighed and rubbed the back of his neck. "Fine," he said grudgingly. "But we stick to protocol. No reckless decisions." Encouraged by Maria's support, Lily decided to take matters into her own hands. Later that evening, after most of the team had retired to their quarters, she sat down at one of the workstations and began reviewing the data she'd collected during her excursion. She uploaded the atmospheric readings from her sampler and ran them through various filters, searching for anomalies. At first, nothing stood out, just the usual mix of gases and trace elements expected on this type of planet. Then, buried deep within the data, she found it, a faint energy signature unlike anything natural. It pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat, and seemed to emanate from somewhere below the surface. Excited, Lily called Maria over to look at the findings. "This is incredible," Maria whispered, her eyes wide as she studied the patterns on the screen. "It's not random noise. This is deliberate. Something, or someone, is generating this signal." Jake joined them moments later, drawn by the buzz of excitement. After examining the data himself, he nodded approvingly. "Looks like we've got ourselves a mystery," he said with a grin. "And if I know anything, it's that mysteries are bad for sleep but great for adventure." Despite Ryan's earlier reluctance, the trio agreed to investigate further. They couldn't ignore the possibility that the alien's appearance was linked to these readings. Early the next morning, they prepared for a reconnaissance mission, packing portable scanners, survival gear, and enough supplies to last several days. Lily felt a mix of nerves and determination as she strapped on her equipment. She knew the journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but she also knew she couldn't let fear hold her back, not after what the alien had said. As they set off toward the coordinates indicated by the energy readings, Lily glanced back at the outpost one last time. The structure looked small and fragile against the vast emptiness of the planet. For a brief moment, she wondered if they were making a mistake. But then she remembered the alien's mocking voice and felt a spark of defiance ignite within her. Whatever lay ahead, she was ready to face it. The journey into the unknown began with cautious steps. Lily, Maria, and Jake moved carefully across the rocky terrain, their boots crunching softly against the dry ground. The air grew colder as they ventured farther from the outpost, and the wind carried an eerie howl that echoed through the desolate landscape. Each of them carried a scanner tuned to detect the faint energy signature Lily had discovered, its rhythmic beeping guiding them like a heartbeat leading the way. As they walked, the scenery shifted subtly. The open plains gave way to jagged cliffs and deep crevices, their shadows stretching long in the dim light. The trio soon found themselves at the mouth of a cavern, its entrance wide but dark, swallowing the sunlight whole. Maria shone her flashlight inside, revealing walls slick with moisture and strange, glowing fungi clinging to the rocks. The air smelled damp and metallic, making it hard to breathe without feeling a slight sting in their lungs. "This is it," Lily said, checking her scanner again. The energy signal was stronger here, pulsing steadily as if calling out to them. She glanced at Maria and Jake, who nodded silently. They adjusted their packs and stepped into the cavern, the temperature dropping noticeably as they moved deeper underground. The path twisted and turned, narrowing in some places until they had to squeeze through tight spaces. Jake muttered under his breath about how much he hated confined areas, but he kept moving, his practical nature pushing him forward. Maria paused occasionally to examine the glowing fungi or scrape samples from the walls, her scientific curiosity undeterred by the oppressive atmosphere. Lily focused on the scanner, her eyes fixed on the readings as they grew more intense. "We're close," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the sound of dripping water echoing through the tunnels. The further they went, the more the environment seemed alive. Strange noises rustled in the darkness, and faint glimmers of light danced ahead, too erratic to be natural. Suddenly, Jake stopped in his tracks, holding up a hand. "Did you hear that?" he asked, his voice low but urgent. Everyone froze, listening intently. At first, there was only silence. Then came a soft scraping sound, like claws dragging against stone. It was distant but unmistakable. Maria's flashlight beam swept across the tunnel, illuminating nothing but empty space. "Could just be wildlife," she suggested, though her tone betrayed a hint of uncertainty. "Or something else," Lily added quietly, gripping her scanner tighter. Her heart pounded in her chest, but she forced herself to stay calm. Whatever awaited them, they were committed now. They pressed on, the tunnel eventually opening into a vast chamber. The ceiling soared high above them, disappearing into shadow, while the floor was littered with strange objects. Tools, perhaps, or fragments of machinery, their designs unfamiliar and intricate. Strange symbols were etched into the walls, glowing faintly with the same eerie light as the fungi outside. This isn't natural," Maria murmured, running her fingers over one of the symbols. "It's alien. Advanced." Jake knelt beside a piece of debris, examining it closely. "Looks like they've been here for a while," he said. "But where are they now?" Before anyone could answer, a low rumble filled the chamber. The ground vibrated beneath their feet, and a figure emerged from the shadows, a towering insectoid creature, its exoskeleton shimmering in the dim light. Its glowing eyes locked onto Lily, and its presence radiated menace. "You dare trespass," it growled telepathically, its voice cold and sharp. "You fragile beings have no place here." Lily took a step back instinctively, but then she straightened, meeting the alien's gaze. "We're not here to fight," she said firmly, surprising even herself with her courage. "We're here to understand." For a moment, the alien hesitated, its massive form still looming over them. Then it tilted its head, studying her as if trying to decipher her intentions. The tension in the chamber was palpable, but Lily refused to look away. Whatever happened next, she knew this moment would define everything. The alien's glowing eyes bore into Lily, its towering form casting a long shadow across the chamber. The air felt heavier, charged with tension, as if the very atmosphere was holding its breath. Maria and Jake stood frozen behind her, their flashlights trembling slightly in their hands. No one spoke. The only sound was the faint hum of energy radiating from the strange symbols etched into the walls. "You dare speak to me?" the alien hissed, its telepathic voice slicing through their minds like a blade. "You who are so small and fragile, think you can stand before me?" Lily swallowed hard, her throat dry. But she didn't back down. She forced herself to take a deep breath, steadying her nerves. "I'm not here to fight," she repeated, her voice firmer now. If you wanted to hurt us, you could have done it already. But you haven't. The alien tilted its head, its sharp claws clicking softly against the stone floor. For a moment, it seemed almost curious, though its expression remained unreadable. You assume too much, it said coldly. Your kind is reckless, uncontrolled. Why should I spare you? Because we're trying to understand. Lily shot back, surprising even herself with her boldness. We're not all the same. Not everyone wants to destroy or conquer. Some of us just want to learn. Maria stepped forward cautiously, her voice calm but steady. She's telling the truth, she said, addressing the alien directly. We're scientists. We came here to study this planet, not to cause harm. If you let us, we can show you that. The alien's gaze shifted to Maria, then to Jake, who nodded silently in agreement. It paused, its massive body still as it processed their words. Then, without warning, it raised one of its clawed arms and unleashed a burst of psychic energy. The force hit Lily like a wave, knocking her off her feet and sending her sprawling onto the cold ground. Jake rushed to help her up, but Lily waved him off, gritting her teeth as she climbed back to her feet. Her legs wobbled slightly, but she refused to fall. She locked eyes with the alien again, her chest heaving with effort. Is that all you've got? She asked, her voice shaking but defiant. You can push me around, but that won't change anything. You'll still be alone out here, hating something you don't even understand. For a moment, the alien seemed taken aback. Its glowing eyes flickered, and the energy pulsing from its body dimmed slightly. It studied her again, tilting its head as if seeing her for the first time. You resist, it said slowly, its tone less hostile and more curious. Why do you not fear me? Of course I'm afraid, Lily admitted, her voice quieter now, but no less determined. But fear doesn't mean I have to run or give up. I've faced harder things than you. The alien's claws lowered slightly, and the oppressive weight in the air began to lift. It turned its attention to Maria and Jake, who were watching the exchange carefully. Your kind often speaks of strength, it said after a pause. Yet you define it poorly. Strength is not in weapons or destruction. It is in resilience, in the will to endure. Lily nodded, sensing a shift in the alien's demeanor. That's what I'm trying to tell you, she said. We're not perfect, and we make mistakes. But we're learning. Give us a chance, and maybe we can help each other. The alien hesitated, its glowing eyes narrowing thoughtfully. Finally, it stepped back, its massive frame retreating slightly into the shadows. Very well, it said, its voice softer now, almost contemplative. I will allow you to prove your worth. But know this, if you betray my trust, there will be consequences. Maria exhaled sharply, relief washing over her face. Jake muttered under his breath. Well, that went better than expected. Lily managed a weak smile, her knees still shaky from the encounter. She knew they weren't out of danger yet, but for the first time since stepping into the cavern, she felt a glimmer of hope. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they had taken the first step toward understanding, and perhaps even coexisting, with this mysterious being. The alien's decision to give them a chance felt like a small victory, but Lily knew it was only the beginning. As the creature retreated further into the shadows, it gestured for them to follow. Come, it said telepathically, its voice quieter now, almost calm. There is much you must see. Lily exchanged a glance with Maria and Jake, who both nodded silently. They adjusted their packs and followed the alien deeper into the cavern, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. The path twisted and turned, leading them to an even larger chamber. This one was filled with strange structures, towering spires of crystal-like material that glowed faintly, casting an otherworldly light across the space. Strange symbols pulsed along the walls, matching the ones they had seen earlier. This is incredible, Maria whispered, her eyes wide as she took in the sight. She reached out cautiously to touch one of the glowing spires, pulling her hand back quickly when it emitted a soft hum in response. It's like some kind of technology, but alive. The alien watched them closely, its glowing eyes flickering with what might have been amusement, or perhaps pride. "This is our sanctuary," it said, "a place where we preserve the knowledge of our kind. You are the first humans to set foot here." Jake frowned, his practical nature kicking in. "Why show us this?" he asked. "If this is so important to your people, why trust us?" The alien paused, its massive form still as it considered the question. "Because you are not what I expected," it admitted finally. "Your companion," it glanced at Lily, "showed courage and curiosity, traits we value." Lily felt a flush of pride at the alien's words, but she kept her focus on the task at hand. "What do you want from us?" she asked carefully. "If you're willing to share this place, there has to be a reason." The alien hesitated before answering. When it spoke again, its tone was more serious. "My kind has observed your species for many cycles of your sun. We see chaos in your actions, destruction, greed, war. Yet we also see potential for growth, for change. But whether you will rise or fall remains uncertain." Maria stepped forward, her scientist's curiosity driving her to ask more questions. "You've been watching us. How? And why haven't you made contact before now?" "We observe from afar," the alien replied. "To interfere would risk contamination, to taint the outcome of your evolution. But now," it trailed off, its glowing eyes narrowing slightly. "Now circumstances have changed. Your presence here is no accident. There are forces beyond this planet that threaten both our peoples." Jake raised an eyebrow, clearly skeptical. "Forces? What kind of forces?" Before the alien could answer, the ground beneath them trembled suddenly, interrupting the conversation. A low rumble echoed through the chamber, and the glowing spires began to pulse more rapidly, their light flickering erratically. The alien let out a sharp hiss, its claws digging into the stone floor. "They have found us," it growled, its voice laced with urgency. "You must leave. Now." Lily's heart raced as she looked around, searching for any sign of danger. "Who's coming?" she demanded. "What's happening?" "There is no time to explain," the alien snapped. "Go back to your outpost. Warn your people. If my suspicions are correct, your arrival here has drawn unwanted attention." Maria grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the exit. "We need to move," she urged. "Whatever's coming, we don't want to be caught in the middle." Reluctantly, Lily followed, though she couldn't shake the feeling that they were leaving too soon. As they hurried back through the tunnels, the alien's final words echoed in her mind. "Remember what you have seen here. Trust between our kinds will decide the fate of both." By the time they emerged from the cavern, the sky above them had darkened, heavy clouds rolling in as if mirroring the tension below. Lily glanced back at the entrance, wondering if they'd ever return, and what awaited them if they did. Back at the outpost, tensions were high. Ryan Hicks paced the main room, his face a mix of frustration and worry. He had sent out a search party when Lily, Maria, and Jake failed to return on time, but they had found no trace of the trio. Now, as the three of them finally walked through the airlock, covered in dirt and looking exhausted, Ryan's relief quickly turned to anger. "Where the hell have you been?" he demanded, his voice sharp. "Do you have any idea how dangerous it is out there? You don't just take off without telling anyone." Lily held up her hands, trying to calm him down. "We're fine, Ryan," she said firmly. "And we didn't take off recklessly. We found something. Something important." Ryan crossed his arms, clearly skeptical. "Important? Like what?" Maria stepped forward, her tone measured but urgent. "Alien technology," she said. "And an alien itself. A living, intelligent being. It communicated with us, and it showed us its sanctuary, a place filled with advanced knowledge." The room fell silent for a moment as everyone processed her words. Then Ryan shook his head, disbelief written all over his face. You expect me to believe that? This isn't some sci-fi movie. Aliens don't just show up and give tours. It's true, Jake chimed in, his usual laid-back demeanor replaced by seriousness. We saw it with our own eyes, and it warned us. Something bad is coming. Something bigger than us. Ryan frowned, glancing between the three of them. Warned you about what? Lily hesitated before answering. She knew how unbelievable this would sound, but there was no time to sugarcoat it. The alien said other forces are involved, forces beyond this planet. It thinks our presence here has drawn their attention, and if we don't act carefully, things could get worse. Ryan ran a hand through his hair, clearly struggling to wrap his mind around everything. Even if I believe you, and I'm not saying I do, what exactly do you expect me to do about it? We need to prepare, Lily said, her voice steadied despite the weight of the situation. If these forces are real, we can't afford to be caught off guard. The alien trusted us enough to share its secrets. We owe it to them, and to ourselves, to take this seriously. Maria nodded in agreement. She's right, Ryan. This isn't just about us anymore. If there's even a chance this could affect humanity as a whole, we have a responsibility to report it. Ryan sighed heavily, rubbing his temples. For a long moment, he said nothing, clearly torn between dismissing their story and taking action. Finally, he straightened up, squaring his shoulders. Fine, he said reluctantly, but we stick together. No more running off without backup. Understood. Everyone nodded, relieved that Ryan was willing to listen, even if only partially convinced. As the team began preparing the outpost for whatever might come next, Lily couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. The alien's warning echoed in her mind. Trust between their kinds would decide the fate of both. Later that night, as the others rested or worked on fortifying the outpost, Lily sat alone in the communications room. She stared at the console, her fingers hovering over the controls. Part of her wanted to send a message back to Earth, to warn them about what she'd seen. But another part of her hesitated. What if they misunderstood? What if fear led to panic, or worse, aggression? Her thoughts were interrupted by Maria, who entered quietly and sat beside her. You okay? Maria asked softly. Lily shook her head slightly. I don't know, she admitted. What if we're not ready for this? What if we mess it up? Maria placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We've already come farther than anyone expected, she said. You stood up to that alien, remember? If anyone can handle this, it's you. Lily managed a small smile, grateful for the encouragement. Still, as she looked out the window at the dark, endless expanse of the planet, she couldn't help but wonder what the future held, and whether humanity would rise to meet it. The next morning, the outpost was buzzing with activity. Ryan had ordered everyone to double-check their equipment and supplies, preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. The team worked quickly, their movements tense but focused. Outside, the sky remained dark and heavy, as if the planet itself knew something ominous was approaching. Lily stood near the edge of the outpost, staring out at the barren landscape. Her mind raced with thoughts of the alien and its warning. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. Whatever force the alien had mentioned, it was coming, and soon. Jake approached her, carrying a toolkit slung over his shoulder. You look like you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders, he said lightly, trying to ease the tension. I feel like I do, Lily admitted, forcing a small smile. What if we're not ready? What if we make the wrong choice? Jake shrugged, leaning against the railing beside her. We won't know until it happens. But hey, we've got each other's backs, right? That's got to count for something. Before Lily could respond, Maria called out from the main building. Everyone inside. Now. The urgency in her voice sent a chill down Lily's spine. She and Jake hurried back into the outpost, where the rest of the team was gathered around the monitors. On one screen, a series of blips appeared, moving fast and heading straight for their location. What is that? Ryan asked, his voice tight with concern. Maria typed furiously on the keyboard, pulling up more data. "It's some kind of vessel, or multiple vessels," she said. "They're not human. And they're closing in fast." Panic rippled through the room, but Lily forced herself to stay calm. "The alien warned us about this," she said firmly. "We need to figure out who, or what, they are before we react." Ryan clenched his fists, clearly torn between fight and flight. "And how do you suggest we do that? They'll be here in minutes." Lily hesitated, then made a decision. "I'll go out there," she said. "If they see me alone, maybe they'll stop. Maybe they'll listen." "No way," Ryan snapped immediately. "That's too risky. We don't even know what we're dealing with." "She's right," Maria interjected, surprising everyone. "If these newcomers are hostile, sending out a group might provoke them. But one person, especially someone they've already encountered, might buy us time." Ryan looked at Lily, his expression conflicted. Finally, after a long pause, he nodded reluctantly. "Fine. But we're staying close, ready to intervene if anything goes wrong." With that, Lily stepped outside, her heart pounding as she walked toward the open plain. Behind her, the rest of the team watched from the safety of the outpost, weapons at the ready. She took a deep breath, trying to steady her nerves, and raised her hands to show she was unarmed. Moments later, the first vessel appeared, a sleek, metallic craft hovering silently above the ground. It descended slowly, kicking up clouds of dust as it landed. From it emerged figures clad in armored suits, their faces obscured by helmets. They moved with precision, surrounding Lily without saying a word. Then came a familiar voice, not telepathic this time, but spoken aloud through a device. "Step aside, human," it commanded. "This does not concern you." Lily turned to see the insectoid alien standing nearby, its glowing eyes fixed on the newcomers. "She stays," it said firmly. "She is under my protection." The armored figures hesitated, exchanging glances. One of them stepped forward, raising a weapon. "Your interference ends now," they declared. "Hand over the intruders, or face the consequences." Lily felt her stomach drop. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. It was a standoff. And she was caught right in the middle. The standoff stretched for what felt like hours, though it was only moments. Lily stood frozen between the armored figures and the towering alien, her heart racing as she tried to think of a way to defuse the situation. The tension in the air was thick, almost suffocating, and she could feel the weight of everyone's eyes on her, both the humans watching from the outpost and the strangers surrounding her. "You don't have to do this," Lily said finally, her voice trembling but clear. She addressed the armored figures, hoping they would listen. "We didn't mean to intrude. We're here to learn, not to fight." One of the figures stepped forward, lowering their weapons slightly. Their helmet emitted a mechanical hum as they spoke. "Your kind has caused enough harm. Your presence here disrupts the balance we've worked to maintain." Lily glanced at the insectoid alien, who remained still but alert. "They're telling the truth," the alien said, its telepathic voice cutting through the tension. "These humans are different. They seek understanding, not destruction." The armored figure hesitated, clearly unsure how to respond. Behind them, the other members of their group exchanged quiet murmurs, their body language shifting subtly. It was as if they were reconsidering their stance. Maria's voice crackled over the outpost's comm system, breaking the silence. "Lily, tell them about the sanctuary," she urged. "Tell them what you saw." Taking a deep breath, Lily turned back to the armored figures. "We visited your sanctuary," she said carefully. "The place with the glowing spires and symbols. We didn't take anything or damage it. We just wanted to understand." At the mention of the sanctuary, the armored figures stiffened visibly. One of them removed their helmet, revealing a face that was humanoid but distinctly alien, smooth, pale skin, and large, luminous eyes. "You entered the sanctum?" they asked, their tone softer but tinged with disbelief. "The alien showed it to us," Lily explained, gesturing toward the insectoid creature. "It trusted us enough to share its secrets. And now I'm asking you to trust us too." The armored figure exchanged a long look with their companions before turning back to Lily. "Trust is not easily given," they said. "But perhaps there is merit in dialogue." The insectoid alien moved closer, its massive form casting a shadow over the group. "Enough posturing," it said firmly. "If we are to face the greater threat, we must unite, not divide." The armored figures hesitated again, then lowered their weapons completely. "Very well," the leader said after a pause. "We will hear you out. But know this: betrayal will not be tolerated." Relief washed over Lily as the immediate danger began to fade. Slowly, she led the group back toward the outpost, where Ryan and the others waited anxiously. As the armored figures entered cautiously, Maria and Jake greeted them with cautious smiles, while Ryan kept his arms crossed but nodded in acknowledgement. Over the next several hours, both groups shared information about their origins, their goals, and the looming threat that had brought them together. Lily listened intently, piecing together fragments of a much larger puzzle. The aliens revealed that a hostile force, a faction bent on domination, had been tracking humanity's expansion across the stars. Earth's arrival on this planet had inadvertently drawn their attention, making cooperation essential for survival. By the time the discussions ended, a fragile truce had been forged. The armored figures agreed to work alongside the humans and the insectoid alien, pooling resources and knowledge to prepare for the coming conflict. As the sun began to rise, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Lily stepped outside alone. She gazed up at the horizon, feeling a mix of hope and determination. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time, she believed they had a chance, not just to survive, but to build something better. Behind her, the alien approached silently. "You proved me wrong," it said, its telepathic voice softer now. "Perhaps your kind is stronger than I thought." Lily smiled faintly. "Maybe we're all stronger when we work together."